Act 4, Scene 1, page number 116. We have to start from Bassanio's speech. Now here, Bassanio says that good cheer, Antonio, what, man courage yet, the Jew shall have my flesh, blood, bones, and all ere thou shall lose for me one drop of blood. Now here, what Bassanio says, that good cheer, Antonio, good cheer, that is, be happy, Antonio, what, man courage yet. Then he says that, well, man courage yet, that is, keep courage, have courage, Antonio, the Jew shall have my flesh, my blood, my bones, and all. And then Bassanio says that the Jew shall have my flesh, my blood, my bones, and everything what I have, ere thou shall lose for me one drop of blood. Now, ere is given, so that means before. That before you shall lose for me one drop of blood. Okay, now altogether once again, what Bassanio says, that before you shall lose one drop of blood for my sake, Antonio, the Jew shall have my flesh, my blood, my bones, and everything whatever I have. So be happy, Antonio, have courage, don't lose your hope. Then Antonio replied, I am a tainted wither of the flock, meetest for death. The weakest kind of fruit drops earliest to the ground, and so let me, you cannot better be employed, Bassanio, than to live still and write mine epitaph. Now what Antonio says here, that I am a tainted wither of the flock. Now he compares himself with one of the deceased ram, that is one of the deceased sheep. So he says here that I am a tainted wither. Tainted wither meaning is given at the side, 116 number, it is given that deceased ram. So he says that I am like a tainted wither, I am like a deceased ram of the flock, meetest for death, that is which is most suitable to die. The weakest kind of fruit, and he also compares himself with the weakest kind of fruit which drops earliest to the ground. And so let me, and then he says to Bassanio, and you so let me, that is, you allow me to die now, Bassanio, because there is no way which can save me from hands of this Jew. You cannot better be employed, Bassanio, than to live still and write mine epitaph. And then he says to Bassanio that you cannot better be employed, Bassanio. So he says that you cannot be occupied in any work, Bassanio, than this. And what work he says, that you can have this work and no better can be better than this work, that than to live still and write mine epitaph. That is, you have to remain alive, you have to survive, and you have to write mine epitaph. Now what is this epitaph? That is inscription on a tombstone. So it says that you have to remain alive, Bassanio, and you have to do this work, that you have to live and you have to write the inscription on my tombstone. Then enter Nerissa, dressed like a lawyer's clerk. Now Nerissa enters into the court of justice, and how she is dressed? She is dressed like a lawyer's clerk. Now Duke asks Nerissa that, came you from Padua, from Bellario? Then Duke asked her that, have you come from Padua, from Dr. Bellario? Then Nerissa replied, from both, my lord. Bellario greets your grace. So Nerissa said that from both, yet that yes, I have come from Padua and I have come from Bellario, and Bellario greets your grace. Then here he says, Nerissa presents a letter. Now Bassanio said, why dost thou whet thy knife so earnestly? Now Bassanio, as he was standing and he was looking at Shylock, so what Shylock was doing, that he was sharpening his knife. And so Bassanio asked him that, why does thou whet thy knife so earnestly? Whet is given other side, line number 123, that is sharpen. So he said that why are you so earnestly sharpening your knife? Then Shylock replied, to cut the forfeiture from the bankrupt there. So what Shylock replied to Bassanio, that I am sharpening my knife to cut the forfeiture. Forfeiture means penalty. That I am sharpening my knife to cut the penalty from that bankrupt there. That is that bankrupt who is standing. That is, he was saying to Antonio. So to cut a pound of flesh from his body, I am sharpening my knife. Then Greciano replied, Greciano said, not on thy soul, but on thy soul, harsh Jew, thou makest thy knife keen, but no metal can, no, not the hangsman's axe, bear half the keenness of thy sharp envy, can no prayer pierce thee. Now what Greciano said to Shylock, that he also became angry, he also became furious, and he said, not on thy soul, but on thy soul, harsh Jew. So 127 to 28, you can see at the side what Greciano said, that you are not sharpening your knife on your soul. Now SOLE is given and SOUL is given. Now SOLE means that is a metallic, we can say it's a type of metal on which they sharpen their knife. Okay, and SOUL is given soul, that means Atma. So here Greciano said that you are not sharpening your knife on thy on this soul, but on thy soul, harsh Jew, thou makest thy knife keen, and but no metal can. So he said, that is 127 to 28 number, you can see, not even the axe of the hangman could ever become so sharp as your malice. Okay, so he said that not even the axe of the hangman could ever become so sharp as your malice. So Greciano said, that is your malice which is there, that is your malice, that is your evilness, your cruelty which is there, that is much more sharper than, that is much more sharp than, or that is sharper than the axe of the hangman, and where half the keenness of thy sharp envy, can no prayers pierce thee? And then Greciano asked him that are there no prayers which could enter into you? Okay, that which could penetrate your heart, which could enter into your heart, that are there no prayerful words? Then Shylock said that no, none that thou hast wit enough to make. Now what Shylock replied to Greciano, that no, there are no words which could enter into my heart, that whichever high intelligence words or wisdom you use, but I am not going to listen anything. Then Greciano, he became much more furious the way he replied to him. So Greciano said, O be thou damned inexecrable dog, and for thy life let justice be accused. Thou almost makest me waver in my faith, to hold opinion with Pythagoras, that souls of animals infuse themselves into the trunks of men. Thy courage spirit governed a wolf, who, hanged for human slaughter, even from the gallows did his fell soul fleet, and while thou layest in thy unhallowed dam, infused itself in thee. For thy desires are wolfish, bloody, starved, and ravenous. Now what Greciano said, O be thou damned inexecrable dog. So Greciano said, that is, you should be damned, you should be sent to hell, you inexecrable dog. Inexecrable dog is given at the side, 130 number, that is one who cannot be insulted and cursed enough. So he said, now he was abusing to Shylock, and what he said, that you should be surely sent to hell, you dog, and for thy life let justice be accused. And then he said that as you are living, okay, as you are living and you are surviving here, so for that justice should be blamed, that as it has allowed you to survive. Then thou almost makest me waver in my faith to hold opinion with Pythagoras. And then Gratiano said that by looking at you, what happens to me? That is, I have faith on Pythagoras. That is, I have hold, or I have faith. I get trust on the theory of Pythagoras. And what is that? You can see at the side 133 number. Pythagoras, who is he? That a Greek philosopher who believed that souls of men and animals appeared several times on the earth, assuming sometimes higher and sometimes lower form of life. So once again I will repeat. A Greek philosopher who believed that souls of men and animals appeared several times on the earth, and assuming sometimes higher and sometimes lower forms of life. So Pythagoras was a Greek philosopher, and he believed that souls of men and animals appear several times on this earth. Sometimes they get rebirth in higher forms of life, and sometimes in lower forms of life. Okay, so he says here, Gratiano says here to Shylock, that you are a dog and you should be sent to hell. And also he said that by looking at your deeds, the way you behave, I become much more, my trust on Pythagoras becomes very much. And he says that souls of animals infuse themselves into the trunks of men. Now this was the theory of Pythagoras. So he said that the souls of animals which are there, it get infused themselves into the trunks of men, that is, into the bodies of men. That once animals die, so it gets into the bodies of men. Thy courage spirit governed a wolf. And then he says to Shylock that your courage spirit, that your wild spirit which is there, it appears that it is governed by a wolf. That is, any of the wolf would have entered into your body. Who hanged for human slaughter, even from the gallows did his fell soul fleet. And then what he says, that who hanged for human slaughter, that is, this wolf, as your spirit is governed by a wolf, and how this wolf would have entered into your body, that when this wolf was hanged for killing any of the human, then at that time only, at the time of hanging only, so its soul would have come out and would have fleet into your unholy mother's womb. Okay, that at the time when you were not born also, when you were there in the womb of your mother, so at that time only this wolfish spirit would have entered into your body, infused itself in thee. For thy desires are wolfish, bloody, starved and ravenous. And then he says that as by looking at you, it appears that your desires, that is your wishes, your demands, and are wolfish, that is, it is like wolf, bloody, starved and ravenous. That is, as you are asking for blood, you, as if you are very much starved, you are very much hungry to have this flesh and blood. So by looking at you, it appears that your body which is there, it is governed by a wolf. Then Shylock said that till thou canst rail the seal from off my bond, thou but offendest thy lungs to speak so loud. Repair thy wit, good youth, or it will fall to cureless ruin, as I stand here for law. Then Shylock said to, he replied to Gratiano, that is, till thou canst rail the seal from off my bond. That is, in this way also you cannot remove the seal from of my bond. Thou but offendest thy lungs to speak so loud. That is, only you are giving trouble to your lungs by speaking so loudly. Repair thy wit, good youth. And then he says that repair thy wit. So he says that come to senses, good youth, or it will fall to cureless ruin. And then he says that otherwise what will happen, it will fall to cureless ruin, that you are going to destroy to yourself by shouting so loud. Then I stand here for law. So Shylock said here that I stand here for law, I ask for justice. Then Duke says, this letter from Bellario does commend a young and learned doctor to our court. Where is he? Now, meanwhile, Duke was going through the letter which was given to him by Nerissa. So Duke says here, this letter from Bellario, that this letter is sent by Dr. Bellario. He commends a young and learned doctor, that is, he recommends a young and learned lawyer to our court. Where is he? Then Nerissa replied that he attendeth here hard by, that is, he attendeth here, that means he is present here nearby, close by, just very close. He is waiting. Then, to know your answer, and why he is there, that is, he wants to know your answer, whether you will admit him, that is, whether you will allow him, permit him. Then Duke replied that with all my heart, some 3 or 4 of you go, give him courteous conduct to this place. Meantime, the court shall hear Bellario's letter. Now, what Duke said, that with all my heart, some 3 or 4 of you. So he said that with all my heart, I will allow him, permit him, as Dr. Bellario has recommended him. So then he sends 3 or 4 of you, please go and bring him in a gentle manner to this place. So meanwhile, the court shall hear Dr. Bellario's letter. And then Duke says that meanwhile, until he comes here, we shall learn Dr. Bellario's letter, that what he has written in the letter. Now, clerk reads the letter. Your Grace shall understand that at the receipt of your letter I am very sick, but in the instant that your messenger came in loving visitation was with me a young doctor of Rome. His name is Balthazar. I acquainted him with the cause and controversy between the Jew and Antonio the merchant. We turned over many books together. He is furnished with my opinion, which bettered with his own learning, the greatness whereof I cannot enough commend, comes with him at my importunity to fill up your Grace's request in my stead. Now, what clerk reads in the letter, that is, your Grace shall understand, that is, your Grace, my Lord, you will surely understand that at the receipt of your letter, that is, at the time I received your letter, I am very sick, that at that time I was very sick, but in the instant, that is, at that very moment when your letter was delivered to me, at that very moment, a young in loving visitation was with me a young doctor of Rome, that is, in loving visitation, that is, on a friendly visit, one lawyer of Rome whose name is Balthazar had come to my house. I acquainted him with the cause in controversy between the Jew and Antonio the merchant. And then clerk Dr. Bellario writes that I acquainted him, that is, as my friend was with me at that very moment when your messenger came, so I acquainted him, that is, I told him about the cause and controversy between the Jew and Antonio the merchant, that is, what is the reason behind the dispute which has took place between the Jew and the Christian, this merchant Antonio. So we turned over many books together. And then he writes that we turned over many books together, that is, we looked through many books together and tried to find out the solution of this problem, of this case. So he is furnished with my opinion, and he is furnished with my opinion, that is, he has been given my opinion, that what do I think about this case, which bettered with his own learning, and then he writes, that is, which bettered with his own learning, that is, this was improved with his own learning, the greatness whereof I cannot enough commend. That is, this lawyer to whom I am recommending, so he is so great that I do not have enough words to praise him, comes with him at my importunity, that is, he has come to you on my importunity, that is, at my importunity, that is, at my earnest request. 164 number, you can see other side, it is given importunity, that is earnest request, that is, on my earnest request he has come to court of justice. So to fill up your grace's request in my stead, that is, he has come there in order to fulfill your request in my place, I beseech you. And then he says that I urge you, Duke, let his lack of years be no impediment to let him lack a reverend estimation. And then he says that I request you, let his lack of years, that is, as he is so young, okay, the person to whom I am recommending, he is so young, so his young age should not be considered as, don't estimate him by looking at his young age, okay, for I never knew so young a body with so old a head. And then he writes that I have never seen such a young person having so much of experiences, so old a head is there, that means it is used for old people, that those who have gained lots of experiences. So he says that I have never seen such a young body, that is, such a young person having so many or so much of experiences of life. So I leave him to your gracious acceptance, whose trial shall better publish his commendation. And then what he says, he writes that I leave him to your gracious acceptance, that is, now I leave him in your hands, whether you accept him or not, whose trial shall better publish his commendation. Now whose trial, 169 to 70, you can see that you just try him, you just give him one chance, then it will be seen how much better it is than my praise. Okay, now Duke replied to this letter, you hear the learned Bellario what he writes. And then he says there in the quote that you have heard that what Dr. Bellario has written in the letter, and here I take it. And then Duke says, and here I allow, that I take it is there, that means I allow, I permit him. Is the doctor come? And Duke asks that has the doctor come here? Now enter Portia dressed like a doctor of laws. So Duke says, give me your hand, come you from old Bellario? And then Duke says that you give me your hand, so have you come from Dr. Bellario? Then Portia said that I did, my lord. That is, Portia said that I did, my lord, that is, yes, I did, my lord, that is, yes, Dr. Bellario has sent me. Then Duke says, you are welcome, take your place. Are you acquainted with the difference that holds this present question in the court? So Duke says that you are welcome, take your place, that Portia, you are welcome here, you take your place, take your seat. So are you acquainted with the difference? Then Duke asks Portia that are you acquainted? Acquainted means familiar, that is, are you familiar with the difference, that is the case that holds this present question in the court, that what actually is the reason, what actually is the cause behind the behind this case, what actually is the dispute. So are you aware with that? Then after this we stop, and after this we shall continue in the next video, children. Okay.